You give me sharing capabilities? Right. All right, everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy to have you guys on tonight. Unmute yourself. Let's just make some noise just because you're doing a great job on today. Woo! All right, now I want you guys to do one more thing for me. I want you to take your dominant hand, whichever hand that is, and I want you to reach towards your back. And I want you to pat yourself on the back and say, I'm doing a great job. I'm doing a great job.
Doing a great
job. I'm doing a great job. So if no one else pats you on the back, remember you can do it yourself. Yes. Great job. Even when it looks like you're not where you want to be, just remember that you're already there. It's just got to manifest itself, and the manifestation shall happen. So we're going to start out tonight with our declaration. So everybody, welcome to our debt whipping program, Velocity Banking. Beverly, we are so glad, Beverly, that you are here with us tonight. You're going to learn so much. We have a special guest speaker who will be introduced in a little while. But this program is really about helping you to first, if you have debt issues, help you to learn how to get out of debt, clear up that stuff, raise your credit score, and learn how to begin to create generational wealth. I don't know anyone who do not want generational wealth. I know I do, and that is why I'm part of this program, already creating passive income, many of us. And so it is so awesome to have you on tonight and anyone else who may be here tonight that is new. My name is Rosie Jones-Clark. I am the membership chair and one of the coaches for the Debt Whipping program. If you are interested in the program, please reach out to me at Rosie at DeMary Funding. You can reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to give you information about our program. So let's start with our declaration, guys. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Mute yourselves. Let's go.
Okay.
This is my, who said that? Who said
Rosie, you know Raquel. You know it's Raquel.
I heard that, Raquel. Wait, it's my turn. Then you follow.
You got that money last week. She ready.
All right, here we go. This is my life.
This is
my life.
I declare today my mindset has changed.
I declare today my mindset has changed.
I am clear about my path.
I am clear about my path.
I am debt free.
I am debt free.
I walk in the understanding of my finances.
I walk in the
understanding of my finances.
Taylor, don't worry about muting. We can hear the baby. Let them say it too. That's all right. Yeah. I control my spending habits.
I control my spending habits.
I am not a consumer.
I am not a consumer.
I am an investor.
I
am an investor.
My money works for me.
My
money works for
me.
Come on, say that again. My money works for me.
My money works for
me.
All things are possible to me because I believe.
All things are possible to me because I believe.
I am financially sexy.
I am financially sexy.
I won't give up.
Yeah,
I won't give up.
Yeah, come on, guys. Woo! So awesome. So again, my name is Rosie. I am the membership chair and one of the coaches. If you're interested in joining the program, please reach out to me at rosie@demerryfunding.com. One of our other coaches is one of my awesome friends, Renee Allen. Her email is renee@demerryfunding.com. She is also a coach. So I am now going to turn this part of it all over to our awesome mentor, Mr. Sabor Al DeMary. Yeah.
So y'all know I do my spill every week, so I'm not really gonna
talk too much because we have a guest speaker this week, and I've been dying to get her on this call so everybody can get these jewels and information. So I definitely want to say, if you don't have your pen and paper ready tonight, please get your pen and pad ready. She do be dropping jewels. She is the queen. I can't even tell you the accolades that she has. I mean, from Toro, out of state Toro businesses, box truck rentals, box trucks rentals business. I'm sorry. The accolades on this young lady is amazing. And again, I said she's young because she's younger than most of us on this call, and she's doing her thing. So I'm just going to shut up now and let her take over. Ree, can you just, introduce yourself, tell us about yourself and the programs that you have and the type of things that you've learned over the years?
No problem. Thank you so much. I do appreciate you letting me be here today. So how you guys doing? My name is Ree, otherwise known as Miss Fix-It on Instagram. I am the CEO of Essential Solutions and the owner of the mentorship group, the Upper Echelon. I've been doing credit restoration, everything from credit restoration, business funding, tarot, Airbnb. I trade futures, I trade stock options. I do a lot of things. I've just become a serial entrepreneur over the years, but I have not always been this way. I have very, very, very humble beginnings. So I started out just like everybody else, working 9 to 5s, trying to get out of the entire rat race that, they have us in right now. I used to do dishwashing about 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, because I worked at like 2 different restaurants at one time. I had no time with my kid. I had a kid at 16. So my business acumen, my ambition has been different. The better part of my life, because, my child is my everything. So I have to make sure I can provide for him in every way, shape, or form I possibly can. So that gave me a hunger for information, and that hunger for information has grown into just so much over the years. And it's like, I just can't wait to share all of that with you guys. Like, the way that financial literacy itself has changed my life in the past 3 years is just insane. Like, 3 years ago, this time I was homeless. I wasn't working. I wasn't doing much of anything with my life. It was very hard to find work. I'm pretty sure if you, remember back then, it was not the best times to find jobs. So what I did was I decided to just look for new ways to make money. And in me looking for those new ways to make money, I found multiple podcasts that, teach you how to make money. I started off with Earn Your Leisure. Shout out to Earn Your Leisure. Those are my people over there. I then went to Derek Grace's crew and, him 500 people. And I've just picked up so much information and so many gems along the way. And it's helped me make so much money in my life. I didn't want to say money, but I wanted to say some type of thing that sounded better than money, but I made so much money just listening to people.
Nothing but God sounds better than money.
Okay. And it ain't nothing but God that got me this far. Okay.
Yeah.
But so basically I want us to say that I started out my financial literacy journey with $30, homeless, broke to my name. It was just me and my son. And, being a mom, it's like, it's either you spend this $30 on eating today and not eat tomorrow, or we figure out how to make this $30, $60 and stretch this for the rest of the week. So my way in was not really through flipping the money. It was through learning about credit. I didn't know that I could leverage credit to do all of the things that I could do. So when I was doing stupid stuff like DoorDash and Uber Eats and Turo, just renting Turo cars to do DoorDash and Uber Eats. And I was listening to the EYO podcast. I was listening to the Derek Grace podcast all the time that I was driving. And they were just giving me so many gems on, okay, you can do this with this and that with that. And it just opened my mind to so much new information, because I'm like, so I don't need a job to make money. I don't have to go to work. I don't have to do all these things that I'm doing right now. Crazy stuff. So I basically just committed that next, basically about a year, because we were in the pandemic at the time. So since I couldn't really go anywhere or do anything, I just poured all of myself into learning this information. I started out with consumer law, which I strongly suggest that every single person familiarize themselves with. I will try my best to familiarize myself, you guys, with it on this call. But I started out with consumer law. I started out with learning what my power is as a consumer, which is no offense to you guys, but I'm gonna need y'all to change that thing, because y'all are all consumers, no offense, legally speaking. But, anyway, I said all that to say, knowing the difference between a consumer and a citizen has made so much of a difference in my life. I do not have to pay taxes. I do not have to pay my bills. I do not have to, I don't have anything on my credit that I don't want on my credit. It gives you a different outlook on life, because you realize that there's nothing anybody can do to make you pay any type of debt, because you as a consumer, you don't owe any debt, because the American Federal Reserve System has already taken responsibility for said debt. So we'll get into that a lot later. Just wanted to go over my, basic intro to my life. That's basically how I got here. Started out with the $30, flipped that $30 off of the DoorDash Uber Eats to Turo. I bought my first Turo card with my credit card after my credit card graduated from a $200 credit card to a $2,000 credit card. And I was like, woo. So I took that credit card to my local auction and got myself my first little, beater car, whatever starter car you want to call it. And luckily it was within the age range to put it on Turo, and I started making money off of that car while doing DoorDash and Uber Eats. And then I just kept rolling that into more cars and more cars and more cars. And I'm like, well, I can just keep buying cars. Why not? Thought it was a great idea. 11 cars later. But, 11 cars later, about 7 cars into that, I started getting into Airbnb. While I was doing that, I was learning about credit repair, doing people's credit repair, stuff like that. I was doing real estate wholesaling on the side, just as a little side hustle thing. And it just kind of like whirlwind my life into this whole thing that it is right now. And I just hope that I can kind of spark that interest in someone to start their financial journey, because it's just such a great place to be. But I'm sorry. I was going to say, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Right. Okay. Sorry. So I wanted to talk about how our power as a consumer will really make a difference in our lives. So if we can look at, I don't know if I'm allowed to share my screen. Hold on, let me see 1 second.
Yes, ma'am, you should be.
Let me see. I didn't want to do a whole presentation for you guys, but I had a whole presentation for you guys. But let me see if I can share with you guys. But I just want to show you the difference between a consumer and a citizen. Hold on, let me see. This is 1 second. I'm trying to get to the right part here. Cool. I can't even see the top. Okay. So anyway, while I'm doing that, I just wanted to talk about the difference between a consumer and a citizen. So the difference between a consumer and a citizen basically is a citizen in the US does not have any rights. A citizen is owned by the corporation, which is the United States of America, which is actually considered a corporation legally. So all US citizens are owned by the United States, which is a corporation, and those US citizens do not have any rights under said corporation, because they have to abide by whatever corporation's rules, laws, regulations that a corporation chooses to put out. Now, a consumer, on the other hand, is what gives the corporation their money to do what they need to do. So a consumer, for example, actually does have rights. They have federally protected rights under the FCRA, the FDCPA, the ECOA, and the, I think, FDBA, Federal Building Act, something. Sorry, can't remember all the acronyms, but you have hundreds of rights, basically explaining in explicit detail that you as a citizen are not legally responsible for any US debt. Nobody can come after you for any US debt. It is not legal for them to seek any type of criminal action against you for any US debt, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. Okay, I'm sorry. I finally found what I was looking for. Okay. All right. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. So as I was saying, the difference between a citizen and a consumer, let me see if I can I make this full screen? Ah, yes. Okay. The difference between a citizen and consumer basically is that a consumer has no right to privacy. They can violate your privacy at any point in time because you're property of that corporation. You do not qualify for civil liability. Civil liability basically means that you get to get remedy or compensation every time somebody violates your consumer rights. So if for any reason you feel like somebody has made you feel like you owe any type of debt, that is a violation of your consumer rights. If you did not agree to owe that debt, and they are liable to pay you $1,000 per violation of your Federal Credit Reporting Act and Federal Debt Collective Practice Act rights. A citizen is also not protected under any credit laws. So a citizen cannot sue for any type of remedy. They cannot do anything that they're not protected under any of the consumer laws, and they can't collect remedy from those consumer laws. So a consumer, on the other hand, just to reiterate, has an enforceable right to fair and equal credit consumption and personal privacy. The only irreplaceable component of a corporation, which means that without a consumer, corporations will not exist. They need consumers. They need people to buy things in order for corporations to exist. So basically, what I'm saying is without consumers, there would be no corporations. So corporations heavily rely on consumers, therefore cannot really ask consumers for anything out of what they, want. Anyway, they have a right to open-ended credit lines on all credit card accounts. They can also be viewed as the original creditor, which means that basically every single credit card transaction, every debit transaction, every transaction that includes any trading of debt, all of that starts with you as a consumer. So when you go to the bank and you go to get a credit card, you personally are the one that's responsible for actually funding yourself. So when you go to the bank cannot actually lend you any of their money. It's illegal for them to lend you any of their own money. They have to lend you someone else's due to fractional reserve banking. So when you go to the bank, what the bank does is they'll take your social security card, which is the key to unlocking your unlimited amounts of credit. They'll take your social security card, take your social security number to the Federal Reserve Bank, say, hey, Federal Reserve Bank, this person wants to borrow such and such amount. And they'd be like, okay, cool. And the Federal Reserve Bank, which has a account with millions of dollars in your name in it, they'll be like, okay, cool. Here's $50,000 for Coach Rosie Jones Clark to, do something with. And you're like, cool, now I owe the bank $50,000. No, you don't. That $50,000 was already bought and paid for by the Federal Reserve. It's already federally protected and it's already been written off on the Federal Reserve's income taxes. So therefore, when you get that $50, not only are you not legally liable for paying it back, not saying don't pay it back, that is not what I'm saying here. Please pay your bills, pay them on time. But legally, they cannot hold you federally responsible for paying those debts. So I just wanted to make that clear before moving on. Citizens, no rights. Consumers, way more rights. So as I was saying, with the Social Security card, they give that to the debtor, you, the original creditor, you give that to the debtor, which is the bank. The bank changes that from the Federal Reserve Bank into a credit card. They give that money right back to you. And then you give that back to them in the form of whatever you do to pay off your debts. And then they pay that back to the Federal Reserve Bank and do it all over again. So when you go to the bank and they be like, hey, you owe this creditor such and such, they can't even call themselves creditors because they're not actually the ones that gave you the money. They're just a middleman for the Federal Reserve Bank. So basically what's happening is you're just asking for access to the money that's already yours. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Now, the credit laws that protect consumers is the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is a federal law that regulates the collection of consumer credit and information. There's the Fair Credit Billing Act, which lays out consumer rights to dispute credit card issuers' charges over $50. So basically, any type of bill that you have a dispute with, any bill that wasn't what you agreed to, basically any bill that you get falls under the Fair Credit Billing Act. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which is, one of my personal favorites, eliminates abusive debt collection practices from debt collectors. You also have the Consumer Credit Protection Act, which requires lenders to disclose the actual cost of borrowing money, not just the cost on the sticker. And you also have the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, which prohibits credit discrimination on the basis of race, color, sex, marital status, age, or religion. So they cannot shut down your credit cards because you got married. They cannot shut down your credit cards because you went to jail or because you changed states 5 times. Basically, anything that you do not agree to, that you do not give them written consent to do, is not allowed for them to do. Just letting you know. Now, I'm not going to go through, I don't want to go through all of it because I don't want to take up all of y'all time because I can talk about this all day, but I'm going to run through it real quick. A couple of violations, some common violations that you will find in the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. Most people do not know that a debt collector may not communicate with you, the consumer, at any unusual time. And what do I mean by any unusual time? I mean, literally any time that is not convenient for you. So if it's 11 a.m. and you're driving to work and you have to, kind of like reach for your phone and about to crash, trying to answer, see, already an unusual time. So basically, they cannot call you at any time that you do not give them permission to call you at. If they do, that's already $1,000 in violations. So if you're getting blown up by debt collectors, if they're calling your phone 3 to 5 times a day saying, hey, you owe this debt, or hey, is this such and such? First of all, if they do not make it clear that they're a debt collector before asking for any of your personal information, they're already in violation of your consumer rights. And you can just hang up and send them an invoice for $1,000. But neither here nor there. Anyway, a debt collector may not contact a consumer in any place that's inconvenient. So that means if they try to contact you at your workplace, if they try to contact you at home, if they try to contact you while you're in the car, if it's an inconvenient time for you, you get to decide what's an inconvenient time for you. They do not get to decide what's an inconvenient time. So they also cannot contact the customer without prior written consent, which is what I was saying earlier. If they do contact you without you giving them the written consent, you actually writing, hey, okay, I agree to be contacted and all this good stuff, then they are not allowed to contact you. If they do not make that apparent that that is a part of the contract prior to you signing the contract, if they do not say, hey, are you sure you agree to these terms, then the entire contract is null and void because they've already violated your consumer rights. They also may not communicate with anybody except the consumer in regards to a debt. So if they try to call your mom or your husband or your boyfriend or whoever they want to call, or they try to call your employer, already in violation of your consumer rights, please collect a remedy for that. You're leaving thousands of dollars on the table. They also cannot make telephone calls without properly identifying themselves, which is what I was saying earlier, except to obtain location information. So if they ask you, hi, you live in Philadelphia or whatever, that's okay, but they still have to let you know that they're calling on behalf of a debt collector or they're calling to collect the debt. And you can find these exact laws in 15 USC 1692C of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. You can Google that, or I think I have like a whole list of links to them if you need that as well. But there's harassment and abuse violations, which basically is saying that they cannot threaten to use violence or other criminal means to harm a person, reputation, or property. So they cannot garnish your wages. They cannot try to threaten you that they're going to send you to jail for not paying. All of these things are already in violation, and they're harassment and abuse violations, which is in 15 USC 1692 of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act.
Reed, let me stop you real fast. So we had some people in our group that's received letters recently saying that they were going to file lawsuits against them, and some people actually got some that said they're going to garnish their wages if they do not pay. Well, what would you say on that? Is that part of the harassment there?
Absolutely. So if they ever try to say anything in regards to them having any legal action against you, any criminal action against you, any garnishment, you can file a cease and desist. You can file an affidavit of truth. We're going to get into what an affidavit of truth is in a little bit, but basically it's a letter stating your laws, these laws that I'm explaining to you right now. You're basically demanding that they follow these laws, and then you're sending them an invoice for the laws that they violated. So regardless of what they say, they cannot actually do anything because they do not actually have any type of legal standing in the court of law. The federal court is going to always back the consumers because that is what they are there to protect. They're not here to protect corporations, they're here to protect consumers. So basically, whatever you say goes, whatever they say is on out. Regardless of this,
How many consumers, I mean,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, 9 out of 10, how many times have you seen invoices being paid? Just to let our group know. like how many times have you seen invoice been paid?
About 7 out of 10, pretty much. Like, it depends on how long you have. So like, they're not going to give it to you off of the first time. They're not going to say, oh, okay, these are your laws, good for you. This is how they make their money. So you're taking money out of their pocket by doing this. And the more they try to act like they don't know what you're talking about, or, you know, they don't understand the laws, the longer they can prolong the process. But inevitably, they're going to have to pay you for these laws regardless, because they've already violated these laws. And if you bring it to enough people's attention, then they will be forced to pay this remedy to you because they're already violating federal law. And they can get in criminal, you know, it's I think it's a criminal offense up to 10 years if they don't pay you what's owed to you. So it depends on how long you have to go back and forth with them. They're going to, you know, put you through a whole, you know, rigmarole of stuff. Going to say, hey, it's verified. Hey, it's valid, all this extra stuff. Hey, we have to go ask this person for this. We have to ask them for that. We went down to CFPB and they said that it was magically verified by somebody who was not you. Nobody can verify or validate any information except for you. Please understand that if they try to tell you that, oh, this information has been validated or verified, first of all, there's a big difference between validation and verification. Only you can validate the debts. I mean, only you can validate the debts. They cannot validate or verify any debts, but there's a big difference between the two. So if they try to tell you any of that, they're already in violation. You already have the right to send them an affidavit of truth. You already have the right to seek remedy from them. It depends on how long you have a process to keep going back and forth and saying, okay, once you send them an affidavit, they have to reply with another affidavit responding to your affidavit line by line. If they do not do that, then that's another violation that you have to add to the next affidavit and the next affidavit and the next affidavit. So I have affidavits with 200 violations because me and Wells Fargo have been going back and forth for 2 years about, well, is this really my account that I told you was not my account 5 years ago? So like, it's like, it can take a while, but in that specific suit, I did end up winning. Wells Fargo did end up admitting guilt. They did end up paying out the remedy, and I believe they gave me like $14,000 for that. But basically, as long as you know your rights as a consumer and you are firm on enforcing those rights, nobody can take those rights away from you. So they cannot garnish your wages. If they do try to garnish your wages, then you can sue them in federal court for those wages back. And then I believe they owe you 10% on top of that. Like if they try to garnish your wages and they actually do succeed in garnishing your wages and you sue them, then they will owe you all the wages they garnished plus 10% on top of that, plus the $1,000 per violation that they've actually violated. So it's not in the best interest for them to do that, but most people are not familiar with their consumer rights. So they just get walked all over all the time. This is their business model, literally just robbing people of their consumer rights and violating people's privacy all day, every single day. This is what they get paid to do. So they're not going to make it an easy process for you, but all the same, your rights are your rights. So as long as you're willing to fight for those rights, then, you know, you will always, always, always come out on top. Now, just a couple more violations that I wanted to go over just for your personal reference. A debt collector may not falsely represent the character, amount, or legal status of the debt. So they cannot falsely imply that they're an attorney. They cannot, this is exactly what you were talking about. They cannot falsely represent or imply that non-payment of any debt will result in the arrest or imprisonment of any person, or the seizure, garnishment, attachment, or sale of any property or wages of any person. This is in the federal law 15 USC 1692E of Federal Debt Collection Practices Act. You can send them this exact law stating, oh, you want to garnish my wages? Cool. This law says you cannot garnish my wages. It's not a thing over here. So you can send them an affidavit stating 15 USC 1692E, stating that this violation of my consumer rights will result in criminal liability. Now, they don't like to be criminal liable for things because now they have to come out of pocket for thousands of dollars in attorney fees and court fees and all of this extra stuff when they can just, you know, settle and give you your money, which is what happens 90% of the time, because they don't feel like going through this with every single customer, every single transaction, because this is just what they do. The ones that find out, the ones that don't. And that's just how they survive. Now, if for some reason, some of these consumers finally wake up, they have to, you know, pay what's owed to them because they've been getting over on these people for about a millennia now. So a fail to disclose in the initial written communication with the consumer. So meaning that if they don't validate or verify the debt with your initial written consent form, like if they don't have a written contract with your signature saying that, okay, you can do these things, then it cannot be verified. It's unverifiable. So they also may not use any name other than the true name of the debt collector's business, company, or organization. So this speaks to all secondary debt collectors. So for example, if you owed a Wells Fargo and it went into collections and they sold it to Credit Control Corp, that is not Wells Fargo. That is not who you owe a debt to. You only can owe a debt to, well, you can't owe any debts, but theoretically, you can only be responsible for a debt from the creditor in which you originally started the transaction with. So once it goes to a secondary person or it goes to a debt collector, you are no longer responsible for that debt automatically. So because you don't owe Credit Control Corp that $5,000, you cannot pay Credit Control Corp that $5,000. That Credit Control Corp, that $5,000 has to be paid to Wells Fargo if, you know, you had written consent and, you know, all that extra stuff, and they actually had the legal right to give you that debt, which 96% of the time they don't. So with the collections, it's very easy to get them off with 15 USC 1692E, because if it's any other name other than the original credit card company, it's already not your debt. Because what happened was that credit card company said, okay, she's not paying, I'm just going to write this off on my taxes, get paid from the government, and move on with my life. And I'll just get my money back on the back end from this collection company. And what they're not supposed to do is give any of your personal information to anybody other than who started the original credit transaction. So they already violated your rights by giving them to the collection company. They already violated your rights by saying that you owe something to somebody that you never even heard of before in your life. It's just a long list of violations here. So,
So I have a question. So can I ask you a question, please? So with that, if someone had a debt and it's been, of course, sold to another creditor, is that, you would put that particular, what do you call it, violation or consumer violation in
Right.
a letter to that creditor that's trying to collect the money?
Absolutely. So
Now-
any type of correspondence you got with them, you can send that back, and that's also a violation in itself. So continue your question. I'm sorry, I don't want to go to a whole thing.
That's okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, okay, so if someone is trying to fix their credit at the time, now how long does that take for, is that a long process to sort of get that removed from your credit once, you do that, or is it,
So it all depends on your disputing strategy. It definitely helps if you start with consumer law, because now you have an active case against them. Because once you start with consumer law and you send out an affidavit, you're basically starting a court proceeding with them, because you can start a court process in the mail. So you can get that affidavit notarized and signed, and you can send that out to the creditor saying, hey, I'm about to come sue you for you telling me that I owe this debt. Now, what will happen is they will either respond by giving you what you want. So on the affidavit, you can ask for removal, and they'll respond by removing it. And they'll either give you your invoice, or you'll have to keep going back and forth with them about the remedy part of the situation. But usually with consumer law, it doesn't take more than a month or 2 or 3 to see actual results from that, because it's nothing they can really deny if you go to the right people. So if you go to the creditor and they say, hey, I know this is your consumer laws, but we don't care, you can go to CFPB, which is over the credit bureaus and everybody that the data furnishers had, and say, hey, these people aren't giving me what I want over here. I told them my laws. I told them I have these rights that they violated, and they're just ignoring them. CFPB is going to say, hey, you're ignoring this person's rights. You need to either pay them, remove whatever they want before we take legal action on you as well. And then you can bring it to the FTC. The FTC will do the same thing. They're over CFPB. And then you can bring it to the Attorney General of your state. They will do the same thing. So it's like the bigger of a case that you build behind you, the more they can't ignore you. So like you can send letter after letter after letter, but if you're just sending it to the creditor, it's going to say, okay, I'm gonna just keep giving her the same spin I've been giving her, because she's just going to keep sending her letters. But if you say, okay, I'm not getting the results I want with the creditor, I'm going to move on to the credit bureaus or the CFPB or the FTC or Attorney General, or you can even go to the Better Business Bureau. There's so many places that you can go to basically enforce what your consumer rights are. The Federal Trade Commission's entire job is to make sure that people's consumer rights are being obliged by. So once they see that somebody is in violation of those rights, they're pretty quick to, get that process remedied. So it shouldn't take as long as doing it maybe the factually disputing way, or all the other ways there is to do credit repair. That's why I try to get people to really learn about the consumer laws, because I've gotten things off in 24 hours. I've gotten things off in 3 days. I've gotten entire bankruptcies off in 4 days. I've gotten evictions off in 4 days. Literally just by saying, hey, these are my laws. These are what you violated. I fax that straight to the creditor, and they're like, oh, sorry, I actually did violate these things, removes the account. But what they don't know is that once they remove their account, they've admitted to the guilt of being in violation of my consumer rights. So now I can take that affidavit and say, hey, you just admitted to violating my consumer rights by removing this account, because if you didn't violate my rights, then why did you remove the account? So I'm gonna need my $1,000 per violation for whatever you have violated on my consumer rights. So basically that's how that process goes. As long as they want to drag that process out, they will. Basically, long story short, you can in fact get the account removed. I've had people not only get their repos removed, but they've actually been able to earn the title to their car back free and clear. I've had people not only get out of paying their bills, but they'll actually do what's called remittance, where they'll pay the bill for you, whole thing, and that. So it's like, once you learn the power of these laws, there's really no limit to what you can do. So like I was saying, with these laws, there's so many things that they have to do to validate the debt. And if they're not getting this information directly from you, then they cannot validate this debt. A debt collector must provide the consumer with certain basic information. If that information was not in the initial communication, and if the consumer has not paid the debt 5 days after the initial communication, all of the information must be sent to the consumer in written form. So this is basically about late payments, and if they want to put a late payment on their credit, they have to wait at least 90 days from the time of the first late payment to actually add that to your credit. So if they do not give you all of these things in written form before putting a late payment on your credit, then they've already violated your consumer rights. So they need to tell you the amount of the debt, the name of the creditor to whom the debt is owed, or not owed. Notice that the consumer has 30 days to dispute the debt before it's assumed to be valid. So if you did not get any of these things in the mail, if they did not give you any written correspondence about these things, as per 15 USC 1692G of the FTCPA, they have to, they are criminally liable for violating your consumer rights. So just to make sure, if you do have any late payments that popped up within 90 days of you making the late payment, that is a violation, and you can go after them for remedy for that. So I can eventually go over the whole remedy process, but that's like a whole nother story. So last but not least, I just wanted to go over the unfair practices. A debt collector may not use unfair or unconscionable means to collect or attempt to collect the debt. Specifically, a debt collector may not collect any interest, fee, charge, or expense incidental to the principal obligation unless it was authorized by the original debt agreement or is otherwise permitted by law. So basically what that means is any fee that they want to charge you that was not included in your original finance charge. So when you got the credit card, if they didn't say, hey, we're going to charge you this amount in late payment fees, or this amount in this, or this amount of that, if it's not included in the original finance charge, they cannot charge you that. So that does include late fees. That includes any fees, like if they try to charge you a fee to use the card yearly, if they try to charge you a fee to get a new card, any of the fees that aren't included in that finance charge, not included in the transaction, you're not liable for those charges.
So Ree, I know a lot of credit companies, especially there's debt collectors on people credit report, say it's like $79, and then you look on it's $80. They're charging you an extra $1 each month for interest. Those are actually violations that she's saying there, because I actually got things removed because they're not allowed to do that by law.
Exactly. Take your guess. But yes, that's exactly what I was saying. Any interest charge, any fees, any extra charges, even certain fees, like with getting cars, like they'll charge you little stupid handling fees and labor fees and all these other fees that they just charge you just for existing when you sign the contract. If those fees were not made apparent to you, and if your right to rescission of that contract was not made apparent to you, then that null and voids the entire contract. You're no longer legally responsible for that debt. Sorry. Now, they cannot take or threaten to repossess or disable property when the creditor has no enforceable right to the property or does not intend to do so. Or if under law, the property may not be taken, repossessed, or disabled. So basically that means that, once again, this is another law saying they cannot garnish any of your property, wages, anything that belongs to you is your property. It doesn't actually have to be a house, but like anything that belongs to you that they want to take from you is essentially your property, your money, your house, your car. If they threaten to take that, so repos do fall under this. If they threaten to take that, then that is a violation of your consumer rights. If they did not do all of these other things, like give you the 90 days to pay, give you the written notice, get the correspondence back from you, all of these things are necessary in order to actually make you legally responsible for the debt. So if they did not do any of these things, which 99.9% of all lenders do not do, you are not legally responsible for the debt. So they also cannot use a postcard to contact a consumer about a debt. Does anybody know what a postcard looks like? I know it's gonna sound like a really dumb question, but if you know what a postcard looks like, it usually has some type of like logo or stamp or seal or something on there that identifies that it's like from somewhere, which is basically what they're referring to. So any bank statement that you get, any correspondence that you get from a creditor with their logo on it is actually in violation of your consumer rights, because they're not supposed to give you anything with a logo or any type of thing that advertises that they collect a debt on their correspondence. So just them having that logo on there is already a violation of your consumer rights. If you want to read more about that, it's in 15 USC 1692F of the FDCPA. But those are just a few of the violations that I just wanted to get into. I can do this literally all day. So I didn't want to like go too far into it. Let me know if y'all want me to, because I can. But basically, I just wanted to let you guys know that there is so much that people are keeping from us as a community. And we really have to like familiarize ourselves with our power, because this is the same power that, you know, has been stripped from us and has been taken from us over the years. And if we don't ever regain that back, we're forever just going to be a part of this system that they want us to be a part of. So knowing your power and enforcing your power is literally the key to financial freedom. You can unsecure your credit cards. Credit cards are not supposed to have a limit on them. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but all credit cards are supposed to be open-ended credit lines. So if it's not an open-ended credit line, you can actually sue them for that and get it to be open-ended credit lines. There's just no amount of, there's no limit to the things that you can do, because in America, thankfully, we produce about $1 billion worth of currency every 2 days. So there's just no limit to the amount of money that is going into that Federal Reserve account in your name, because every time they print more money, they have to allocate it to somebody, because it's not their money that they're printing the consumer's money for the consumers to spend. So once they give the consumers that power and we get access to that power, then we get access to that capital and we can do a lot more things as a community.
Can you speak to that for a moment, as far as the unsecured and there's not supposed to be a limit? Can you speak more to that?
Absolutely. So under the, I believe it is the Equal Credit Opportunity Act and the Consumer Credit Protection Act, you are supposed to have open-ended credit lines. Oh, and also the Truth in Lending Act. Sorry, that one's not up here. Big part of your consumer rights. But under the Truth in Lending Act and a couple of other acts, you are supposed to have open-ended credit lines. You're supposed to have open-ended credit lines because the Federal Reserve Bank does not give you a limit to how much money you can pull out of the Federal Reserve Bank, because there is no limit to how much money you can pull out of the Federal Reserve Bank. That bank is there to fund or, you know, do whatever you need to do. That bank is there to fund you for the rest of your life until you die. So if you go for $50,000 from the bank, then they'll give you the $50,000 because that's what you asked for. If you ask for $100,000, they have no right to deny you, because you, the original creditor, are the original creditor of the transaction. So if you're the one who started the transaction, they cannot deny you what you asked for at the start of that transaction. So being the original creditor and asking them for these open-ended credit lines, you can use the Truth in Lending Act, you can use the Fair Debt Collection, the Fair Credit Billing Act and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, you can use these different acts to actually say, okay, well, where in this law does it say that I'm supposed to have a limit on my credit card? Why is there a limit on my credit card? And if they say, no, you cannot have this credit card, then you can take what's called adverse action against them, which is basically saying that I have a right to this debt in America, and basically you denying me that right is a violation of my consumer rights. So you can affidavit them for basically anything that violates your consumer rights, which is basically denying you anything that you want, basically. So essentially, with the open-ended credit lines, it may take a while. They might go back and forth with you 50,000 times about it, because you have to understand that these people at these corporations are just people, and they don't know the laws themselves, and they have to get familiar with the laws themselves in order to give you what you want. So until it gets to somebody that's actually familiar with the laws, until it gets to somebody in their legal department or their underwriting department that actually knows the laws, you're going to be in this constant runaround of people not knowing what you're talking about. So as long as you have the stamina to, fight for your rights, you're always going to win. I will take your question. What's up, Woody?
Now, the concept that you just mentioned applies to a secure credit card as well?
Absolutely.
So like you said, just valid it out with them with the documentation and be like, well, especially with the secured, because I've already backed this credit card for as long as I have.
And the fact that it's secure, it's already backed by the Federal Reserve, and then it's double backed by you. Exactly. So it's like, it's already a violation.
Amazing. You are amazing. These are jewels you're dropping here, hon.
So I just want, and before Rochelle speak too, I'll make sure y'all understand. I brought her on it because, man, she's amazing. She's a wealth of information about the Credit Act, but she actually learned she was homeless, guys. Listen what she's saying. She was homeless with $30. She learned the knowledge of credit and how to leverage the credit, the power of leverage, what we teach in this group, how to leverage that to get where she at to this day, not just including her information of wealth and knowledge. Anyways, Rochelle had a question.
Hello, thank you, sweetie, for the information. It's so informational, something we never even learned or heard of in our entire life, really.
Yeah, I'm not gonna teach you this, trust me.
That's pretty bad.
I know. Tell me about it.
I was wondering, this is really good information you're sharing with us. Now, let me ask you, because there was something I overheard. My brother was, he came to the meeting one time, but I wanted to come and join the meeting. He was asking me about a UCC system. And I don't know if you know that. It's kind of like along the lines of what you're talking about.
Right.
Where we don't have to, like, we're all living under this government and they're controlling us. And you're right, they really are. I mean, we're seeing it every day, you guys.
It's crazy how, like, conspiracy theorists, it's like we all write them off, but it's like, even me, I'm like, oh, he's crazy. He's talking about all this, we're slaves to the corporation and all this extra. I'm like, all right. And then it's like, I learned the laws and I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe I am.
So it really is true then, right? It's really true to a point, like what you're showing us here. So is this part of that UCC system that you've learned that's outside of like the government law? This is the real consumer law and the rights we have.
Exactly. So consumer law is the government law. It's just a law that they do not want you to know about. So there are hundreds of thousands of laws that protect you in every single transaction that you do that is not financially beneficial to corporations for you to do. So since America is a corporation, they're always worried about the best thing for the corporation. So if they give you this knowledge, if they give you this information and you lower your, consumer spending, or you find out that you don't actually owe any debts and the Federal Reserve is responsible for paying these debts, which they're already paying anyway. It's like, it causes more problems for them. So they don't want you to have this knowledge, even though it's the laws that they gave you as an American consumer in this country. It's really weird, but
yeah. And you teach this on your Essential Solutions also. We can log in and look for your information there too.
Yeah.
The
So you
follow
can go
kind
to
of.
my Instagram. All of the information I just stated is on my Instagram. If
Okay.
you have any further questions, or if you want to learn more about this stuff, then you can sign up for the waitlist for my mentorship, the upper echelon, which is dropping at the end of this month. So we'll be going over all of this, all of my side hustles, all of the credit stuff I do. I didn't even get into manufacturer spending. It's like a whole thing in itself. But it's like,
Thank you. Yes, thank
there's
you.
a lot of stuff going on in there.
Thank you.
So Ree, how many Airbnbs are you got now?
So I'm at 7 doors right now. I just got my 7th literally 2 days ago. I probably look tired right now because I've been up all night getting my Airbnb together. So if you look at my Instagram story, you can see the one I just got done doing. But I'm on door number 7, I believe.
Again, y'all, listen, 3 years. And not only that, she has Toro cars, Maseratis, and slingshots in Florida that's currently moving themselves. She lives in Philadelphia. Like,
Yep.
This is powerful.
I have cars I haven't seen in years that are still cash flowing right now.
Yeah. Like, powerful. Like literally, she learned the power of leverage, and she's on her way, if not definitely on her way to a millionaire. You know what I'm saying? Like from 3 years. And so now we know that it took motivation, it took education, but what kind of mindset did you have to get rid of?
So I was the type of person that would have never even looked at this type of stuff. Like, this was not me as a person at all. Like, I would have argued you to the death about this stuff in the other direction prior to me coming across this information. So it took a lot of unlearning of like societal standards and what I learned in school. And okay, so what I learned in school isn't really the truth, and why are they teaching it to me in school? And it was just like a whole like I don't know, like an identity crisis for me, because I'm like, well, all the stuff I learned is like, well, what did I learn it for? Like, all of this didn't do anything for me. I'm learning all these things in school, and it's like they're teaching you half truths and half lies, and it's like you have to find out the other half. And it's like once you find out the other half of the truth, then it's like the half truth doesn't matter anymore. So it's like I had to like go through like this whole transformation of like thought. Like I had to abandon, you know, the materialism. I had to abandon the self-hate. I had to go through a whole self-loving process, because like I really felt like looking at these laws and looking at all of these things that was available to me, and being in the place that I am and being as poor as I am, I thought that like it just wasn't for me. I thought I didn't deserve that stuff. I thought, oh well, you know, these people, they gonna come take it from me at any point in time, so what is the point? So like I was doing that type of time for like a very, very long time. It took me so long to like really like come around to the fact that this is real applicable information. And it took me a long time for me to love myself enough to like leverage my power enough to use this information, because even with me knowing the knowledge, I'm like, but what if I use it and then they come and yell at me? And, you know, I was, yeah. So like I used to be terrified to do affidavits. I used to be terrified to call the credit bureaus. I used to be terrified to like really enforce my power, because I didn't know what the consequences were. But once I realized like the federal law is on my side and I don't have anything to be worried about, it's them that are violating my laws that they should be worried about. So once I realized that, it was like a whole like 360 transformation in my mindset. Like I started thinking about things a different way. I started learning about the difference between assets and liabilities, and how buying these liabilities in my life was not helping me all this time. And if I literally just spent that same $30 that I was talking about, if I spent that $30 that day on food, I would still be homeless right now. I would be fed, hungry, but I would definitely still be homeless right now. So if I didn't say, okay, I can be hungry for this next 2 hours to rent this bike. I was on bike doing DoorDash when I first started. But if I can just do this DoorDash on bike for 2 hours and make $60 off of this $30, then tomorrow I can get a car or a Turo and I can rent that car out. And then I could do Uber, and then Uber gonna make me a stack. And then here we are. are. Here we are. But it's like, but it's like, if I didn't have that mindset of leveraging one thing to get to another, it's like, I would have been stuck on step one forever. It was like, I would have still been trying to do what I've been trying to do with what I had forever. It's like, if I would have stayed with that same $200 credit card and said, okay, well, I'm not going to try to use this to leverage to do anything. I'm just going to spend this on, food and stuff and hope that I have the money to pay it back next month. If I didn't love myself enough to say, okay, I actually have to care about the me 6 months from now, or the me a year from now, or the me 5 years from now, then I wouldn't be in the position that I am, because I had to care about me 5 years ago to get to me here. So it's like, I had to basically get out of caring about what's going on right now. And I started focusing on my future. So I started making those sacrifices, or making those necessary adjustments in my life to say, okay, well, I'm trying to get here. What are the necessary steps I need to do to get to where I'm trying to go, instead of just letting things happen to me? So once I stopped letting things happen to me and I started actually, taking control of my life, that's when things blew up, basically.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Because mindset is like everything, right? Mindset is everything.
Everything.
Mindset, and then of course you have to put some action behind that. So could you tell us when you talked about having that $200 credit card, what things did you do with that $200 credit card when you got it, and how did you use that? What did you do?
So I was actually through EYL. EYL had just started, Brand Leisure, I'm sorry. They had just started what's called Market Mondays, and I started learning about investing in stocks and learning about crypto and learning about all this cool stuff that was going on at the time. So I'm like, well, I only have $2, and about $100 of this goes towards me getting this car for me to do DoorDash, for me to make the next $100. So I was like, I'm going to be in this forever cycle of paying on this car and then going to do DoorDash and then paying for the car and going to do DoorDash if I don't learn how to invest this money to do something else with it. So what I was doing was I was saving like 20% of my earnings, and that 20% was going towards my investments. So I started investing in stocks. I started learning about cryptocurrency. I started investing in crypto super, super heavy, which it was a great time to invest in crypto. It was like 2017. And everything was super, super low. And I was getting like fractional shares or fractional coins at like super low prices. So once I just put that 20% aside and just forgot about it and let it sit there and kept doing my thing with the DoorDash and the Grubhub and the Uber stuff, I turned around and looked at my account, and in 6 months, my crypto account went from that, I think I started with like $17, and it grew to like $300. And I was like, oh, wow, there's money in here. So I used that money, and I was like, okay, well, if that's $17, I mean, $300, Jesus Christ, what can I do with the rest of it? So I started investing in crypto heavy. I started investing in Ethereum, Bitcoin, XLM, ADA, all those coins that were just at their like base level at the time. They were just starting out, like nobody really knew about them. And I just, used that money to invest and rolled those coins up to, their all-time highs a couple years later, just by forgetting about them and focusing on what I was doing. So while I was doing the DoorDash and while I was making the money with the cards, I was actually investing a portion of that on the side, and that investment portion actually helped me to leverage that into other investments like Airbnb and the tarot card and stuff like that. I actually used most of that original investment in my stocks to buy land, and I started flipping land, and that was like a whole thing. I used the land to actually buy my first Tesla, and I bought it straight out just off the land, and it was just, yeah. So basically, it was just learning how to leverage the different points of my money. So while I'm doing this over here, my money needs to at least be working for me somewhere else. or else I'm losing money. Because, you know, every single day we live on this earth in America, we are losing money if it is not working for us. So basically, if I just invested that 20%, that 20% actually grew to 50% as I got more aggressive with my investing. I literally was like at the point in my life where I was so like hungry to like invest. I just wanted to put all my money in there. I'm like, all right, I don't even got to eat today. This $30, I got to get some Apple. But anyway, I just got obsessed with investing for a while. And like, that really helped me out because not only did I get obsessed with investing, but I got obsessed with long-term holding. And, you know, the best thing you can do is participate in the stock market. So you don't have to like be there. You don't have to know what you're doing all the time, but the best thing you can do is participate over a long period of time, and you'll always, always, always be profitable. So what I was doing was I was just finding, you know, the best stocks that they had, Apple, Microsoft, you know, stuff like that, and the best crypto that they had. And I was anchoring my foundation of money in that. And then once I learned more information and I learned more things that I could do with the money, then I was using that money to invest, you know, years later.
So you're saying within a 3-year period,
right?
You had such financial and mental growth. It sounded as if, you know, you started out in one area, but while you were doing that, you were still learning about other things, and eventually got involved in those things like Turo and Airbnb,
right?
Maybe a different type of stock or whatever. So what do you say about folks who may be juggling more than one thing, right? They have all these ideas and they're juggling more than one thing for passive income to begin to make money.
I'm so glad you asked me that because, oh my God, when I first started, I wanted to be in every single thing. So what Earn Your Leisure does is they'll bring on you know, an African-American person that's, you know, doing their thing, just like you guys do, but just they'll bring on like different African-American people that are doing their thing in their field. They have like different businesses, and, you know, they're changing the game. So I would be watching them every week, and one person would have a home health agency, and one person would have a water company, and one person would have this. And I'm like, well, I want to do that and that and that and that and that. So I just started making LLCs like, all right, I'm gonna just start this one. And then like, once I learned enough about this one, I'm gonna move to this one. And I was just so like, what do they call it? Analysis paralysis. Like I was just so overloaded with information that it just wasn't benefiting me anymore. Like, it's like, I know this about this and I know a little bit about that, but I don't know enough about anything to actually be profitable. So it's like, I was just wasting my time going from this to this, to this, to this, to this. And now, okay, I know how to a little bit start that, but now I don't know how to scale. Okay, I know how to do this, but now I don't know how to automate. And it's like, instead of me going to try to do 15 different things, which did not ever work out in my personal opinion, because the second you want to finish this thing, you have to go on to the next thing because, you know, squirrel brain and stuff. But it's like the second I realized that I wasn't making any progress with that, I started to slow myself down because I realized like I'm just rushing to make the money. Like I'm not actually focused on actually learning how to do this right. I'm worried about making the money. So once I took the money out of the, you know, focus, and I started focusing on actually understanding the information enough to use it, that's when I actually started being profitable, and I actually started making like real progress with my life, because I realized that the best progress comes from slow, intentional steps and not just rushing through multitasking, you know, trying to get as much done as you can. Like when you focus on one thing at a time, then that one thing at a time gets done, and it's always, always progressing you to doing better things and doing more things every day. But if you try to do half of one thing every day, then it's going to take you 10 times longer to finish one of those things because you're trying to do half of everything. So I realized that if I just slow myself down, focused on one thing at a time, mastered that one thing at a time, and then moved on to the next thing, then I wouldn't even have to worry about going back to, finish learning about the last thing because, okay, I already got this set up, I already got this automated, I already did this, I already did that. And now I have the free time to go and learn about something else. You know what I'm saying? So like, I had super amounts of information about so much stuff, which is kind of how I ended up with all these passive income streams in the first place. But I had so much information, but it was like, I literally only have 24 hours in my day. So I have to spend that 24 hours the best way that I can spend that 24 hours. So if I'm not finishing anything in that 24 hours, then my 24 hours was not spent in the best way that it possibly could be spent. So I started strategizing my days. I started saying, okay, well, I have this amount of time on this day. It's just the enough amount of time to be able to work on this project or just do one part of this project, or, just kind of like break it up into small actionable goals that you can actually do, that actually doesn't seem like a overwhelming thing to do. Because like, I don't talk about my mental health like that, but I struggle with depression and I struggle with anxiety a lot. So it's like, I have to battle my depression and anxiety just to be able to do these things. So it's like, I have to be able to be mentally, I have to be mentally sane enough to like actually absorb the information. And if I'm like having an anxiety attack, or if I'm depressed about this or depressed about that, then I'm not going to be focused on the information in the way that I, needs to be focused on the information. So I had to go back and, work on my literal self first. I realized that I cannot move forward until I literally work on myself first. And then I was able to make real progress with the information.
Ree, can I ask you something?
Yes.
Your first car, you said that you leveraged $2,000 and went to an auction.
Yes, sir.
You knew somebody had an auction license, right?
Oh, so in my specific state in PA, you do not need a auction license to go to the private auction. In the state next to me in New Jersey, that is not the case. You do need a auction license to deal in certain private auctions. But depending on what state you're in, you can check your state's laws. Most states do not require you to have an auctioneer's license. I believe there's only about 5 to 7 states that do. But basically, I went to my local private auction here. I also go to the police auction. There's plenty of government auctions that you can go to get cars way undervalued. I like the police auction and I like the private auction that I go to. I'm in Philadelphia. I go to Capital Auto Auction, which is also available in DC, Maryland, and I'm missing something. I think somewhere else on the Eastern Seaboard. But they basically deal with cars on the east side. I believe there's also Copart, which deals with cars all over the place, but you have to be more careful with them because they have lower quality cars, and you have to really do your due diligence with those because they will try to sell you a clunker. So, but with Capital Auto Auction, I really appreciated them because they tell you all of the diagnostic information about the car in advance. So basically, it made it a lot easier for me to make my investment decision when you say, oh, okay, this car runs and drives, this car has AC, it works, it does this, it does that. You can also bring a mechanic with you when you pick up the car, just to make sure that there's no mechanical defects or stuff like that. But basically, once they unsecured my card and I got that $2,000 credit card, I was like, cool, this is exactly what I needed right now. I'm just learning the information. I'm definitely about to implement it. So I went down to Capital Auto Auction. Capital Auto Auction has like an online auctioneer's website where you can look for your cars and stuff like that. I actually have, I live in Philadelphia, but I have a Virginia license. So I had to buy as an out-of-state buyer, which you can also do and come pick up the car or have it. I think they have some type of delivery process. I'm not sure how that works, but basically I went down there and I was looking through cars and I was like, okay, well, I don't want to just randomly pick a car because, who knows who's to say that it's going to do well on the platform. So from me renting Turo cars for so long, like prior to me, stepping into, renting on Turo, I was a Turo renter for like a good 2 years prior to that. So for me, renting on the platform, I already know how it goes on the consumer side of the transaction. So I wasn't really familiar with the renter side. So I went and said, okay, well, let me look through the cars in my area. Let me look through the cars that I've rented the most. Let me look through the cars that don't have a lot of availability on the platform. And let me start with those. So what I found was most economy cars and most luxury cars are the ones with the least availability. So I started out with, regular old economy car. I think I got like a Mazda 3 and I love that car, by the way. But I did not do my due diligence because I thought I was smart, and I went to the auction and I thought I did everything right, but I don't know enough about cars. Well, I didn't know enough about cars at the time to actually make that informed decision. So when I got there, I thought I got a Mazda 3. It was like a 2012 or something. Anyway, I went down there and they were like, I hope you know how to drive stick. And I'm like, stick? So I basically had bought a stick shift car without realizing, because I didn't even know what the hell manual meant, because I was like, I thought it meant that you did get a manual when you get the car. I don't know. But so, it's like you can have so much knowledge in one thing and just be so lost in another. So it's like you really gotta like do your market research. I have like a whole tour course in that. But anyway, when I got down there and I got the car, it took me like an hour to get home because I had no idea how to drive a stick shift car. But luckily for me, I live in a place with plenty of people that know how to drive stick shift cars. So like people were like stopping on the street, like, are you okay? Like, I'm like, I am not okay. So I had somebody like that one of my friends of mine had came and like found me and like helped me drive the car home. And then once I finally got the car home and realized that I'm stupid, I was like, you know what, let me just try to put it on the platform anyway. I didn't even know if I could rent stick shift cars, so I was just doing like for data purposes, really. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna throw it on the platform and see what happens. It actually got rented. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't know how to drive a stick shift car, but apparently I don't need to. So that Mazda, I think it got rented for like a good 6 months before somebody crashed it, because it's a pretty fast car. But in that whole process, I realized that number one, I need a second opinion on every single car that I get, because if I don't know enough about cars, somebody got to know enough about cars before I buy this car. And number two, it might not be the car that I had wanted, but there's a market for everything. And I didn't even like think about being in the, stick shift market and the market for all of that stuff. So it was like, I was just trying to get a regular economy car to just, be like everybody else. And I ended up being in this whole white space of, well, now I'm the only stick shift car in this area, or now I'm the only stick shift car over here. And the people that love stick shift cars, which is a lot of people apparently, they were looking for somebody specifically like me on the platform. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I didn't see that car again for like 6 months because it would just stayed so consistently booked up until, that point in time. But from there, I used that money to, buy more cars and more cars and more cars. I think the next car I got was like a Chrysler 200. And I didn't have that car for like more than a week before another learning lesson that I had. I didn't have that car for more than a week because I had an out-of-state license and I had to go pick up my plates, and I didn't know that I had to go pick up my plates from Virginia. So it got towed because I didn't have any plates. So there was like a whole learning curve of stuff that I just had to like go through. Like I literally probably wasted about $40,000 just on learning processes. So like before I really like got my understanding of the whole process and the whole platform, I really had to like go through a lot of stuff. So like I was going back and forth to the auction. Like I said, with the Copart auction, they tried to sell me a clunker and it was like a whole thing. And like I just had to go through the whole learning curve because I refused to at the time, like I was still unlearning and relearning things, and I just refused to pay for information because I was like, why am I paying y'all for stuff I can get on Google? But anyway, so I was like, I'm not paying for this stuff. I don't need to pay for nobody's information. But I realized after a while, I'm not paying for the information. I'm paying for the experience. I'm paying for the mistakes that they made that I have to make now that I didn't pay for the information. So after I realized that, I was all for paying for the information. After I made the mistakes, I was like, you know what? Yeah, let me actually figure out what I'm doing before just doing, because I'm just I can do that. I'm doing it type of person. So it's like
I just write the check, right?
Right, exactly.
And you were paying for a shortcut, right? So what
Exactly.
took you a long time to do on your own, now you are paying to get that information.
Exactly. What took me 2 years could have took me 3 weeks if I just would have paid for the information. Right. But that's like a big learning curve that I had to get over because I really was like allergic to paying for information. Like I just did not agree with the whole concept mantra behind it until I realized what I was getting for paying for that information. Like just the information that I pay for alone is like, I don't need to work anymore. I don't need to do anything anymore. Like I could literally sit here and talk to you guys for the rest of my life and I'd still be making money currently as we speak. So like, you know.
You just gave me a new meaning to a scripture in the Bible where it talks about, paying your tithes and, if you don't do your tithes and all of that, it tells you that you are cursed with a curse, right? Mm-hmm. So think about if you don't invest in yourself, if you don't pay for that shortcut, you're really cursing yourself, right? Like you're prolonging things in your life. Like you said, you ended up paying $40,000 when you probably could have paid somebody, 10 or 15 over time.
Exactly.
And all of that information you lost, right? So you really curse. There's a curse behind that, right? When we don't want to invest in ourselves.
Exactly. And it was learning to love myself enough to invest in myself that was the hard part.
Girl, we have to talk.
Tell me about it.
That's awesome. You are so awesome. Savory.
No, but anybody else have any questions for her? I know it's past our hour. I didn't want to stop her, but she gave a lot of good jewels. So anybody have any questions?
Just real quick, is your son old enough to understand the power his mother has right now?
Oh, absolutely. I wish I could bring him in here for you guys.
That you went through.
Absolutely. So he's 8 years old right now, but I think his 9th birthday is on June 1st. But my son is like my best friend. So whatever I go through, not really he goes through, but he's there for me. He understands like enough to, give me advice sometimes. So like and the first person that I teach is always going to be my son. So if I can't break it down in a good enough way for my son to understand, then I don't really understand the information. So when I learn things, I go to him and I say, hey, what's the asset? Do you know what an asset is? And he'd be like, no. And I'd be like, okay, this is the difference between an asset and liability. And now when I come back to him again, I can be like, hey, Jaden, what's the difference between asset and liability? Asset is something that puts money in your pocket. Liability is something that takes money out your pocket. I will bring him in here so he can do the whole thing for y'all, but I'm not gonna do all that. But no, my son is super smart. He's really good at picking up on information. He hasn't, thankfully, he hasn't really been influenced by, all of the things that we had to unlearn ourselves yet. So I get to come in there and kind of say, hey, they're gonna try to do this. They're gonna try to do that. I don't want you to go down that path. I want you to think for yourself, because 99% of what they do is make you not be able to think for yourself. And that's the problem, is if you can't think for yourself, then you're never going to make any progress in your own life, because somebody's always going to be making your decisions for you. So I don't want that to be my son's life. So I try to teach him early on that you need to learn discernment. You need to learn the difference between the assets and liabilities, and you need to learn what to do with those assets once you get them. So yeah, my son is like, he cool.
So I just have to say this because I know you said you had your son around 16 or so.
Yeah.
and he's about 8, almost 9.
Mhm.
So, I had to do the math for a second. So that makes you like 24, 25 years old.
Oh yeah, I thought I said that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm 24.
This-
But 25th birthday on April 30th. But
April 30th? Oh, girl, you're so close to me. I knew that. See, I'm 26. But anyway, I'm April 26th. But
Oh, wow.
listen, I mean, this is so awesome to see that, you're a beautiful, young, intelligent, powerful, young Black woman who has decided that you're going to change the trajectory of your life and that you are going to walk in your purpose so that you could get to your destiny is amazing. So I just had to say that.
Thank
Also,
you
if you
so
could
much.
take a moment to put your Instagram information,
absolutely.
website, whatever it is that you have, all of those in the chat, that would be great. I'm sure there's some folks that
Okay.
would want to follow you or reach out, including myself. But you
Yeah,
are
I'm just now seeing the chat.
I'm definitely telling y'all, do not look at the age. Terrell is on here, a couple people from our other Ree is the truth, y'all. Like literally, I've seen the growth. Yeah, I remember she was on Toro before we even, like, years ago. Like I'm telling you.
Girls, since they were called Relay Rider, like
Yeah.
that's a really long,
Uh,
time.
Yeah. So
I got a question.
What's up, Buttercup?
So it really isn't nothing that you have to get in depth with, but my wife is not gonna let me get off here without asking this. So when you're dealing with the consumer laws, is there anything pertaining to student loans out there?
Yes, so much stuff. So for student loans specifically, there is the Permissible Purposes Act, which I believe is in the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act or the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which basically states, long story short, that they have to have written permission to furnish anything to your credit report. So basically anything that is furnished on your credit report that does not have written consent from you needs to be removed from your credit report. Now, I'm pretty sure when you were 17, 18, you did not write a contract saying, hey, please put this on my consumer report. So therefore, those student loans do fall under that Permissible Purposes Act. So you can use the Permissible Purposes Act. You can use quite literally any of these acts, honestly. Like it all depends on your personal experience with that student loan company. Like if they tried to contact you, that's also grounds for deletion. If they try to say that you owe anything that isn't your exact finance charge, that's also grounds for deletion. So basically, whichever one of these laws you want to use, you can use communications over here with the they cannot contact you at any place or time that is not convenient to you. They cannot make telephone calls to you without probably identifying themselves prior to asking for your information. Stuff like that you can use. Like
so the same. So consumer laws apply for all debt and loans.
Everything down to your traffic tickets they apply to. Yes.
Wow.
Anything that requires a plate, card, or placard is a consumer credit transaction. So your license plate actually qualifies as a credit card because they charge you a debt based on your license plate. So you can get, you can dispute traffic tickets, police tickets, all types of anything that anybody says that you owe has to fall under all of these acts.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. I'm just now seeing you guys in the comments. Oh, thank you guys.
That's some great information.
Oh, it's so nice. Thank you so much. I have so much good information to share with you guys. It's just little amounts of time that I have.
We have to definitely have you come back on, right, Tabor?
Oh, for sure.
yes, ma'am. Yes, she will be a return guest. Yes. All right. So I don't want to hold everybody time up if nobody have any other questions for her. But, I'm going to say, this program is about creating generational wealth. We're going to teach you proper banking, how to leverage that credit. Proper banking, how to repair your credit, pay down your consumer debts, switch your mindset from a consumer to an investor and move you over to creating passive generational wealth. That's the ideal in this program. we have, just like Reed went over, you know, it all started with me learning about credit, how to leverage that credit, that I was able to create my own passive income for me and my family and leave generational wealth for my family. So I just want you to think on what she's telling you. It's very important that you know your consumer laws. I know a lot of people in our program, we do the credit repair for you, but if you have any questions about your credit repair, make sure you reach out to your coaches. You want to, again, like she said, you want to take it up and start learning about your own consumer laws so you can start doing your own credit repair. You know, I just want to make sure everybody's understanding your power here and how you see how this young lady was able to change her trajectory, you know, in her life by learning the power of leverage, by learning about credit, by learning about consumer law. But anyways, I'm gonna shut up, Rosie. It's all yours. Reed, thank you again, love. I appreciate you. You know that we're gonna bust it up on our other calls. I really,
Thank
really
you
appreciate
so much for letting me be here and letting me do this for you guys. I really do appreciate it. I love spreading information like this. So if I change any of you minds about anything today, I am forever grateful to be the one to give you that information.
Yes, and we must say that you absolutely have. So on behalf of all of us on tonight, you guys, I want you to just unmute yourselves and give her the biggest round of applause and a good holler to let her know.
Reed, way to go, baby.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That was so awesome.
That was very awesome.
It really was. So thank you so very much. May God continue to bless you and your beautiful son as you continue to grow and dominate this world. So we look forward to talking to you again soon. Guys, I thank you all for coming on tonight. Again, if there's anyone who's interested in learning more about our program, you can reach out to me at rosie@demaryfunding.com. I'd be more than happy to speak with you about our membership and get you on the road to your prosperity and walking in your purpose that you may get into your destiny. So we thank you guys for coming on tonight. Deborah, give me a call after this. I'd love to chat with you just for a second.
Oh, real quick.
Yes.
Real quick, before we get off, I just want to say everybody tell Michelle happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Michelle. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, cuz.
So I didn't do a round table. I didn't do a round table this week for everybody to see if anybody.
Happy birthday, Michelle.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I would have baked you a cake.
Did y'all hear me? I said I didn't do a round table this week, but I know that a lot of people credit has increased. HL, Woody, I want to congratulate you. Telly, congratulate you. Michelle, I think yours went up a couple points too. Congratulate everybody. Hey, listen. Listen though. Hey, I don't care if it's at 1 point, it went up. You know what I mean? But definitely want to congratulate everybody. Again, Woody, welcome to the 700 Club. I seen that big jump.
Deborah, I never said, but my mom, Miss Linda, her credit score has gone up substantially. So yeah, she's over the she's 740, 50.
Oh.
So, yeah, doing great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Raheem too. The youth, several of the youth have hit the 800s. One of the smallest on our youth group is 743. So we definitely very, very proud of all of our youth. Again, they didn't have to go through a lot of the stuff that we went through, but definitely proud of them. So I encourage you all to keep learning, keep growing. I know the information can seem overwhelming, but it's really, really practical, easy, and we got the best coaches in the world and make sure you achieve your goals.
Yes. Thank you guys again. Woohoo! Love you all.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
You killed it, Ree.
Yes.
Thank you, Nick.
Beautiful.
I don't know how to pause it, Rosie. I'm trying. Oh, there we go.